Okay, so, all right, so we saw the Shiloh yesterday. We heard from Judge Marv. Uh, the question that was raised from yesterday is fellow books a hall, books a band, among other things, and the elevator is not working, so they have to hire additional manual laborers in order to schlep all of the equipment upstairs, cost them more money. So the the guy who's making the wedding says, I don't think I should be responsible to pay because well, I booked a hall that has a functioning elevator. But maybe there's another way of looking at it, which is, was he aware that the elevator might malfunction, and so forth. So let's take a look. So he says like this: Hagemara omeret b'masechet Gittin ma'aseh be'adam echad shemachar karka lechavero. There's a story in the Gemara about a person who sold real estate to his friend. The kibel al atzmo lefatzot et hakoneh al kol ones sheyikre lekarka. He gave a guarantee or a warranty, I suppose, to the purchaser that I'll cover you for any mishap that occurs to this real estate. In other words, the field is yours, and if anything occurs, I'm responsible. B'sof hamelech ha'avir et hanahar derech ot hasadeh v'haras et hasadeh. What happened was, shortly after the sale, the king of the area, or whatever, the government, whatever, decided to divert the river right through this guy's property, essentially destroying the field. It's no longer functional. Higiu lifnei Ravina, va'amar lamocher shehu tzarich lefatzot et hakoneh, kevin shehu kibel al atzmo kol ones sheyeh ara bekarka. So they come to Ravina to ask, what's the halach? And Ravina said, did you give the guy a warranty? He said, yes. Well, then you have to make good on the warranty. You have to give him a refund for the purchase. Amar lo Ravacha bar tachlifa le Ravina, harei ze ones shalom matzoi, va'aldad ze lo kibel al atzmo hamocher. So Rav Acha challenges Ravina. He says, I don't understand why the seller should be responsible. This is such an uncommon occurrence. He never had this in mind when he gave him a warranty. In other words, it's one thing to give a guy a warranty over, let's say, a title search. You know, if, let's say, my warranty was, don't worry, the field is yours. If anyone tries to take it away from you because they have a prior claim, I'll be responsible. That's a reasonable warranty. That's something that people generally offer when they sell real estate. They say, you know, I'm responsible for those kinds of things. But who would have thought that this kind of thing would have happened? I mean, how often is it that the government diverts a body of water over onto your property and causes it to wash away? It's a very uncommon occurrence, and therefore, Ravacha said the seller should not be responsible for something that never entered into the realm of either person's mind. So higia hadavar lifnei Rava upasak shezeh oines lo matzui v'lachein hamocher patur milashalem. And the same shaila came before Rava, and he paskined that this is a mishap that is so uncommon, and therefore the seller is not responsible. So there is this concept in halacha that if I provide you with a warranty, it's a warranty that's meant to cover things that are likely to occur it's a limited warranty, okay? But to say that it should cover things that are such uncommon things that I never thought this would be in the realm of possibility, that the seller is not responsible. Okay, so that's story number one. Va'od ma'aseh mevia sham hagemara al Rav Papa v'Rav Huna b'rei de Rav Yehoshua shekanu shum shemin al gidot nahar malka. So here's another story. These two rabbis purchased sacks of sesame seed on the river banks of a river called Nahar Malka. V'hamochrim sachru safonim sheyovilu et hashum shemin leveitam shel Rav Papa v'Rav Huna. And the merchants, I guess they were selling them from their boats. They hired workers to schlep the sacks of sesame to Rav Papa and Rav Huna's homes. And the merchants, I guess, that was generally what was done, is that you would purchase items by the river where the boats were traveling. They carried the merchandise. And then, how do you get the merchandise from the riverbanks to your home? So the seller says, that's included in the purchase price. We're responsible for transportation and delivery of the goods. Lebasof niskar hanahar velo yachalu hasafinos la'avor bo. Problem is that the river became congested, and I'm not sure the word niskar, I think, means that the river could have dried up, but it was impossible for boats to travel to that place. Let's see. No. Blocked. It got blocked. That's what it means. It means that it got blocked. Boats could not travel via the river. Maybe a big tree fell, and it fell into the river, and it blocked the pathway of the ships. Ships could not pass through the river, and as a result, the boats could not get to the drop-off site. Sesame seeds could not be picked up. Amru Rav Papa v'Rav Huna l'mochrim, kevin sha'atem kibaltem al atzmachem achrayus haderech, tiskiru chamoirim v'taviru es haschor. So he said to the ship people, to the sailors, and he said to them, you accepted responsibility to get the goods from our home, from your ship to our homes. The boat needs to travel downriver in order to get to where we live. But you accepted responsibility. The onus falls upon you. Hire donkeys who will schlep. In other words, normally, if you would have brought it downstream to closer to where we live, you wouldn't need donkeys. You could just get a bunch of guys to schlep it the short distance from the river bank to our house. But now that the boat can't travel, you're going to have to hire donkey drivers. So they didn't want to pay the added expense. So Ba'u Ladin Lifnei Rava va'amar lahem avazim levanim. So Rava said to them, white geese. Now, what does that mean, white geese? So Rashi says that he called the rabbis white geese because they had long flowing white beards. And I guess this was a way of a term of endearment.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I would feel if you called me a white goose, but you can call me a silly goose, maybe not a white goose.
You'd like that.
Anyway, so he said, dear rabbis, mafshitim bigdei anoshim, za'ina shalomatzu. He says, you're trying to rip off their shirts. In other words, you're trying to take money from them that they don't have. This is an oines, this is a mishap that is so uncommon that they didn't anticipate this occurring, that the river would be blocked, and therefore you can't hold them accountable. Upirish Rashi, the Ritzono Lomar, she'atem poskim aleim din lahana aschem. And what Rashi explains in that Gemara story is that these two rabbis who were the purchasers of the sesame, they felt that they were in the right to their own benefit. He says, same principle. This is a type of mishap that is uncommon. It is not something that they had anticipated when they provided a guarantee to deliver the sesame seeds. And therefore, they never really had this in mind when they accepted responsibility. Because harif harash halacha karava. And the Rif and the Rush write that that's the psak halacha, that there is such a thing as a warranty. A seller can provide a warranty to provide goods or service, but it could be a limited warranty if it's a type of act of God or some kind of mishap that is completely outside the realm of normalcy. Okay, so where are we going with this? Think about the elevator. Okay, now uveshulchan aruch kasav. So the Shulchan Aruch, when citing this halacha, writes as follows: Ma'isa be'echad shesochar malachim la'avi shum shemim l'makom ploni. A story about a person who hires sailors to transport sesame seeds to a certain place. V'hisna imahim shehem chayofim b'chol oines shegei ora lahem ad sheyagiu hashum shemim l'makom ploni. Okay, and he arranges a guarantee that these people will make sure that the sesame seeds will get delivered to a certain place. They are liable. And then the river gets blocked. And the Chachamim paskind that this is an uncommon mishap. They are therefore not responsible to hire donkeys to schlep on by land and accrue the added expense. And any other kind of situation like this was not included in the guarantee. Ve'al kain, legabe kilkol hama'alit ba'ulam. He says, and therefore, regarding a broken elevator in the wedding hall, hadavar talui im kilkul hama'alit hu davar matsui sham olo. It all depends whether it's a common occurrence or not. The imze davar matsui, if it's a common occurrence that every Montvik and Donnerstick, the elevator breaks down. You know that phrase, every Montvik and Donnerstick? Every Monday and Thursday. Every Monday and Thursday, the elevator breaks down, which means, in other words, you know, it's an unreliable elevator because the guy's a cheapskate. He doesn't want to upgrade the elevator because, as we know, elevators are very, very expensive. It's a huge expense. He says, so then it's considered as if the hall owner has accepted upon himself that responsibility to provide a functional elevator or to make other arrangements at his expense should the elevator break down. But if it's something that's outside the realm of imaginability, because this elevator has been working properly for the last 5 years, we've had no problem with it, this is the first time, as Baal Ha'ulam lo kibel alatzmo achrayas ve'alkein hu poter milashalem. Then the hall owner never implicitly accepted upon himself this responsibility of making sure that that he would have to pay for the added expenses because the elevator was broken, and therefore he's going to be exempt from having to pay. Okay, so when they go to Beis Din, you know, I guess the responsibility of the Beis Din is to say, show me your records of how often this elevator has been functional and how often it's been breaking down.
But it's not an uncommon occurrence. But elevators break down.
Well, they're gonna be repaired.
Maybe not this
Yeah.
one, still has.
Well, not this one, but it's not an uncommon occurrence.
It depends.
One of the elevators isn't working. I mean, it's like, it's all the time. There's always one that's being serviced or something wrong with it.
It's not like government decided to come in and fill the elevator with water. something, some unusual occurrence.
So it depends, he says. It depends how unusual or usual it is. An elevator breaking down, I would say, in a place like ours, is not a common occurrence. It's not a common occurrence because we've known when we have a problem with our elevator and we've incurred great expense
So it is a common.
to get it fixed.
So,
But now that it's fixed, we would not expect it to break down on a regular Shabbos or when there's a wedding going on.
So how
we
often
do
does
fix
someone come in to fix it?
Yeah, but it happens once every 10 years.
Um,
That's not a common occurrence.
no,
You also have regular maintenance.
You have
not being
regular
used
maintenance.
That much either here.
Yeah, it's not being used like an airport elevator.
Yeah. With the baggage, you know.
That would be, let's break down.
It's mechanical.
The hall has to, the bite would have to fix it, right? They would have to fix it.
If the elevator
The
breaks
next
down
morning After the wedding, the bite would have to fix the elevator.
after the wedding,
Yeah, so there's a claim against the bite because the elevator didn't work to shut the stuff upstairs.
okay,
So it's broken. And so they're arguing about who's gonna pay for it.
who's going to pay to fix the elevator?
Well, there's a
For
cost
carrying
share
up
for
the-
carrying.
For carrying back the-
No, for carrying the people to carry up this.
Yeah.
But the actual thing needs to be fixed, right? In any case.
In any case,
So
There's
probably
there's
gonna be some
another
kind of
cost there, you're
compromise,
saying.
That has to happen. That's the hall itself has to take care. If not, then yes, the word will get around and no one will use the bite again because they have broken elevators.
right.
But what about the Bob Sukkot, who had these,
I understand what I'm saying is that they should be sharing.
what
The
Joby's
base
saying
team
is,
will probably wanna share the cost.
What you're saying is that it might be wise for the hall to work out some kind of compromise to keep everybody happy because they don't want to get bad ratings on Yelp or whatever it is. Yeah, you know.
Yelp.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
I mean, my thing.
Rate my shul. Yeah.
Shul.com.
What you're saying is
Terrible,
right. I would
that's
say
terrible
that-
site, that would.
owner of the building would talk to the lift people and negotiate something and carry some of the costs that came from the guy who had to schlep the stuff up because the lift wasn't working. So at the end of the day, the people who are actually paying for it are going to be the lift people because they have to give a discount to the hall owner, which is where I think it should sit anyway.
Why would the lift people be responsible? I mean,
No,
if
if the lift people, with most lifts, there's a maintenance schedule that has to be done. If they're doing a
Right.
maintenance schedule and then something breaks, and things break, I understand.
yeah,
But at some point, you're using those people to maintain that lift for your use. So if you can't use it, then you have some claim on them that they've caused you an inconvenience with your business. So now you can ask them.
right. Well,
There's no-
yeah,
there's no saying they
usually,
have to.
yeah, usually the elevator company offers some kind of limited warranty. That may not include, let's say, parts,
Yeah.
or it may only include parts
Parts are no labor.
for a year or 2
Or it
years.
might not be, instant response, it might
Yeah.
be 48 hour.
Yeah.
response
48
after the
hours
send-
of repair, yeah. But I mean, the thing is that from a good business behavior, one is gonna say, okay, fine, look, I'll knock off however much from my bill because of that, and then if the guy's honest, as the hall owner, he can use that money to pay the guy for the slip.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't hear Judge Merv yesterday, it's just not.
I
that way.
did hear.
Is that right?
Nobody pays for it.
Nobody pays.
It depends.
There's
No,
contract that you don't
Marv
have
said
to
it
pay.
depends. Now, here's where it becomes interesting. Let's say in real life, we have, in our situation, we have a hall and we have a caterer. When a person makes a wedding here at the Bayit, they're contracting both with the shul and with the caterer.
Right.
But they generally pay the caterer the full price and then the caterer pays the shul. What happens if the elevator breaks down the day of the wedding? And then the caterer because he wants to keep his customers happy, he has to hire extra workers to schlep the band instruments and all of the other stuff and the food up and down. Okay,
Yeah.
which I'm sure at some point probably has happened. So then it becomes interesting. Can the shul turn around to the caterer and say, well, this is completely unanticipated. It's out of our control, and therefore we should not be liable to pay.
The other solution is you can get insurance to cover all this stuff, business equipment interruptions like electricity, HVAC, stuff like that. And also the Bale Simcha can get wedding venue event insurance also. Stuff like
So the
Yeah.
rains inside the
Yeah,
building.
there's
they get his
insurance, and then you can make claims, and then there may be the subrogation claim against the caterer by the insurance company, like whatever,
So everybody's hooked.
Yeah, everybody.
So we're in court for 3 years.
Bob's got a job for the next 3 years. We had a situation kind of similar many years ago when Joshua got married. It was the ice storm. The wife had no power. So we said to Coleman, what are we going to do? He was prepared to bring in barbecues and said, I'll make the food, we'll barbecue it, and we have gas. And he was going to do that at his expense. And the power came on. Still, that was something very unforeseen.
Yes, and there have been weddings here during a blackout.
Yeah, once there was. Rabbi Zonka, yeah, Zonka had a barbecue with him. Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah, there was an ice store.
The whole power was with the Chicago.
Yeah,
short
yeah.
The whole.
And it
area
was
without
all
power.
in the dark. And
Yeah,
everything.
we're in the day for like 3 days. So there's all that extra expense, we covered that extra. That's when you could go to Sobeys and get ice.
Yeah, but who paid for the salon?
They just had to get down there because there was no electricity.
Wow.
Everything was locked in the freezer. Just give it away, just take it. I mean, it was all probably covered by perhaps insurance. He's doing, but there's no power. Yeah, but I mean, that's a good business. That's what I'm saying, it's good, I don't think it's.
I don't think he was
liable.
liable.
But it's expensive, but I mean, he offered it because, it wasn't a.
But in law is something like act of God, that there's something
Yeah,
like
we
this
dealt
out
with
of.
that before, act of God, it's like, force majeure, or whatever, relieves the liability for that.
Most of
time.
them, yeah.
But that, what the rabbi is saying in these cases is it's so uncommon or whatever, may not be forced, if it's common, it's not force majeure.
But here halakhically it says in that situation with Rabbi Salonka, where the whole city's out of power, that's unforeseen.
That's
And
unforeseen.
halakha says, who's responsible?
Right, it would not be the caterer, it would not be the hall. The hall would not be responsible for an uncommon mishap or
So
accident.
who is, does it say?
No one.
No one, nobody is financially responsible if there are additional costs incurred that would fall on the person who wants to make the party, right?
Would it be fair for the person who has to pay for the schleppers to carry the band stuff up?
I could see that. I could see if it's your thing, that you have to pay.
Yes, that's what we just said, that the Beis Din,
That would be a fair comment.
the Beis Din in their inquiry, in trying to get the facts of this case, would have the right to ask the hall, show us your records of regular maintenance, and let's speak to the elevator company and find out how often this thing has been breaking down.
Or if the elevator company's been telling him it's gonna break down and he chose not to. act
Not
on
to
it.
That's
fix
right.
it.
Yeah, that's
Not to
right.
act on it at the
Yeah.
same time.
That's right. Now, let's take a look at the Makor Baruch. Because of Harambam B'Zelashon, Hamocher Karka Lechavero, V'hitna imo shekol ones sheyivaled bakarka zeyeh chayav l'shalem. Quoting the Rambam now, person sells property to his friend, and he provides him with a warranty that any mishap that occurs to this property, I will be responsible to make good, to make you whole. Afilu ba'akum v'gazla machmat hamocher chayav l'shalem. So even if, let's say, some kind of non-Jewish entity comes and seizes the property, then the seller would have to pay. But if, let's say, the river dries up and the field, therefore, loses its value because it's not irrigatable anymore. O shechazer hanohar lavor betocha v'naseis berecha. Or let's say the river overflowed, and for whatever reason, the field gets washed away. O shaba'a ziva'a v'hishchita ota. Or let's say, I don't know if you pronounce it ziva'a or zoa, I'm not sure, but let's see what that word means. Ziva'a, it translates as horror. Horror.
Natural disaster.
It's a form of natural.
Yes, some kind of natural disaster comes and destroys it. Although it may refer to something else, let's say some kind of pestilence or something. Hareze potter. The seller is going to be potter. Because these are uncommon mishaps. And the seller never entertained that kind of act of God situation when he made the guarantee. And therefore, any kind of warranty or guarantee that's made on a sale that is completely unexpected is not included. Because of Habeis Yosef b'Shem Harashba, the Beis Yosef, commenting, quotes the Rashba, and he says, "Bayista afilu kasav shu makabel alav kol onsin sheba'olam sheyit yaled, ein ones lo shchiach b'chlal zeh upater." He writes the same thing, that even if you write explicitly in the warranty, any mishap in the world that occurs, nonetheless, it's still a limited warranty. V'huvu dvarav b'hagos agon Rabbi Akiva Eiger b'Shulchan Aruch Sham, and that's quoted by Rabbi Akiva Eiger. V'yesh lahosif bazeh dekasov hamachne Ephraim, demasha kasov harambam de be'ones matzli hamocher chayiv l'shalem. So the Machne Ephraim writes that when the Rambam says that if it's a normal kind of mishap, the seller has to make good on his warranty. Barak ba'ones shu al derech hapele az dafka hu pater, and it's only something that's completely surprising, unexpected, that he would be exempt. Hainu mishum da harambam irish hamocher kibel alatzmo kol ones sheyiyah. That's when the seller accepts upon himself any mishap. And he writes, kol ones, every kind of mishap I'm responsible for. Aval ba'ofen shelo kibel alatzmo kol ones, as hadinhu shamocher pater afilu ba'ones she'eno derech pele, elo she'eno matzu ktsas. He says, but if he says, I'll accept normal kinds of mishaps, and this is something that's even slightly uncommon, so then there too, the seller could say, I'm exempt because I didn't use the terminology of any mishap. Kevin shekibel alatzmo rak oines matzoi ayin sham bedok. V'al pizeh, and based on that, Efshalomer binidon didan, sha'afal pisha kilkul ma'alit eno nechshav ka'ones pelesh eno matzoi. This was Izzy's argument. He says elevators do break down. It's not something that's so completely out of the realm of possibility. But nonetheless, it's somewhat common, but it's not expected. It's not really expected. But because the hall owner did not accept upon himself any kind of mishap he'll be responsible for, like a blackout or a broken elevator or something like that, but what the hall owner does accept upon himself is common mishaps. What would be an example of a common mishap? I guess maybe there's a flood. I don't even know if that's a common mishap. But what are more common mishaps other than a broken elevator? So the workers didn't show up. My maitre d' didn't show up. My chef didn't show up. He says that's something that is within the realm of possibility. Al kenu patr min l'shalim al kilkul hamalit. Because he didn't explicitly accept upon himself any mishap, he's going to be exempt. Aval im kilkul hamalit matzui sham, but if it's something that does regularly happen, like I said, every month, v'kendoiner shtik, azarminan shuhu kibel al atzmo ch'moshe kasav rabbeinu hagon hamachaber shlit. Then he will be responsible because it's something that he knew does happen occasionally, that it breaks down, and therefore he's going to have to cover it. Okay, we'll hold it here for today. Yeah.
Shit, not doing.
Yeah. Have a great